cloud. Great. Now we are recording.
Oh, very good. Welcome to the October 19th, 2021 session of TangerineSDR and HAMSci technical session. My name is Dave, KV0S, and this week I've been working on configuring some radios. I'm trying to get some of Phil Karn's software working. It is a non-trivial task. But I'm making progress. So next on the list, we have Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thank you very much, Dave. Jonathan Rizzo and I continued our installation work, and we got the trench filled in. So there's Jonathan at the end of the trench. This is where the sensors will be going. Not there, now it's in focus. So we're going to put the magnetometer and the VLF receiver out here. And this is looking the other way toward my house. So there's now a conduit with ground wire and all the cables there, and it's all filled in. So the next, and Anthony helped out too. So he also helped fill in some of the trench. So we've got that going. And so the next thing will be to actually, we'll work on the junction boxes and then actually work on installing the sensors. And then I'm continuing to work on data analysis of RBN, Whisper, PSK reporter, looking at TID stuff. So I've been working on that too. Back to Net.
Well, fine business. And next on the list is Dan in 4XWE. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, thanks, Dave, and good evening, everybody. Well, I think I have my computer under control this week, so won't have any outbursts like last week. Worked a little bit on scripts this week, and also installed the new Ubuntu 2110 OS. It doesn't work very well with my particular setup. It doesn't like Logitech unifying dongles at all. And the dongle or the keyboard works for about 30 seconds and then it dies, and you have to pull the dongle out and push it back in. Works for another 30 seconds. But anyway, not a very good experience with that. Again, if anybody's interested, I do have scripts for a whole bunch of software. Everything that is for the Raspberry Pi OS works perfectly. The ones that are for Ubuntu Mate and the 2110 64-bit version of Ubuntu for Raspberry Pi are a little marginal. So that's about it from here. Back to you, Dave.
Well, fine business. And next on the list is Dev, KC3 PVE. Go ahead, Dev.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So we have started a new week here in Scranton, and I resubmitted two of my papers to JGR with the approval of my advisor, and I think fingers crossed in a couple of months, in some time, I think I'll get to hear from the reviewers. Thank you.
Very good. It's always nice to send off papers.
And this is very important work that I performed during my graduate research work. And based on this work, Air Force Research Laboratory has, the results have been employed in a model to forecast equatorial ionospheric irregularities.
Very good. So, well, next on the list, we have Bill, AB4EJ. Go ahead, Bill.
Thanks, Dave. Well, I had some experiences along the lines of what Dan, I've been running the grape with Ubuntu version 20 dot something, and it started nagging me to upgrade. So I took an image backup of the running system and let it do the upgrade to version 21, and it worked like crazy for about 6 hours, then went to restart and it had bricked the system, would not reboot. So I restored the image from the backup because I had anticipated there could be some problems. So I'm thinking to myself, probably what I'm going to need to do if we're going to have a grape flavor that runs digital RF, like a new radio, and all the rest of that stuff, I'm probably have to build it from scratch. But Dan, it sounds like what you're saying is maybe version 21 isn't ready for prime time to do that with yet either. So what I'll probably do is I'll just get a fresh chip and flash it with the newer 21, and let's see if I can install all the stuff on it to see how far we get. That's about all. Oh, by the way, I wanted to ask you, Nathaniel, do we have an iSquat team meeting tomorrow?
Yes, we do have a nice team meeting tomorrow.
Yes?
Yes,
Okay, all right. That's 9 o'clock your time, right? Okay,
that's right. Yes.
okay, back to Ned.
Well, fine business. And next on the list is Dave, KD0 EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Hello. I haven't done too much. Friday, I got a bug, 24-hour flu or something, and was kind of blew my weekend to bits. And much altogether better now, but didn't get anything done even in the usually slightly more productive part of my week. So not much to report.
Well, I hope you get better. And next on the list is David McGaw in 1HAC. Go ahead, David.
Hello, everyone. Just thought somebody's really bleeding through badly. I need to mute. Anyway, welcome. Hello, everyone. Been playing with USRP this week and doing some other radio stuff. I guess that's about it, except go Red Sox. Back to Nat.
Very good. Okay, next on the list is David Waugh, KE8QEP. Go ahead, David. Are you there?
Put a note in chat saying he might not be able to check in.
Okay, thank you for the feedback. We'll get back to him if he gets his system working. So next on the list is Gary, AF8A. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Not much to report here. Just briefly, it was nice to hear Hamsai mentioned in the latest edition of the QSO Today podcast. A little bit about the group here, and also a little plug for 88Y Dave Kazan's Coherent CW. So it just amazes me how much press the Hamsai group gets throughout all amateur radio. It's always good to hear about. Back to Ned.
Well, fine business, and thanks for the feedback. And let's see, next on the list is Hyomin Kim, KD2MCR. Go ahead, Hyomin.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, not so much to report. I'm still working with my student to continue to find some association with other geomagnetic activity using our data from GennyJump. So I'm trying to focus more on scientific aspect of the data set. So other than looking through the data set, there's not so much to report in general. So back to Ned.
Okay. Next on the list is James, KG4DSG. Go ahead, James.
Good evening, Dave and the group. I don't really have much to report, just listening in tonight. Back to Net.
Okay. And next on the list is JB, K8OS. Go ahead. JB.
Good evening, gentlemen. I didn't quite expect to say anything this evening. I'm a newbie, and I thought I'd come over here and see what the SDR guys are doing. See if I have any technology that I might throw in the pot that would be useful. Actually, Nathaniel, W2NAF, I would like to exchange some emails with you. I have some technology that your group might be interested in that I developed some 10 years ago and am sitting on now. It has to do with ultra large scale FFTs. I don't know if you guys are doing big FFTs, but if you are, I might be able to help. Let's see, that's it. Back to net. Thank you.
Fine business. And I can say, I think we are going to be using very large FFTs. So there is some interest. So next on the list, who do we have? Got Jim, K4BSE. Go ahead, Jim. Jim?
I think you're muted, Jim.
Muted, but no audio.
He's probably using the wrong microphone. Well, let's go on down the list, and if Jim gets that fixed, we'll come back to him. So next on the list is Joe, W7LUX. Go ahead, Joe.
Good evening, everybody. Very, very busy here. Nothing else to report. Thank you.
Okay. Next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EEY. We've seen what you were doing recently.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I was actually pretty busy with Nathaniel, although this week was actually pretty light in terms of work. We were fighting off the weather and the rain. Every time that we tried to go out in the field, it would start to rain. Then we'd go back in and wait for the rain to stop. But we were able to get everything filled in. Everything looks really good, and yeah, the next time we'll be installing the junction boxes and installing the antennas. I also have been working on my audio injector isolated sound card some more. I changed the timing method from edge timing to centroid timing. So what that means is when the software looks for the pulse on the one channel of the sound card, it looks for the pulse through one of three methods. The easiest method, of course, is edge timing, and that worked with the older sound card. Centroid timing is where you shape the GPS pulse per second with an RC network, and with that shaped pulse, the software takes the center or centroid of that shaped pulse as to where the or as to when the second actually occurred. And then what you do is you get a calibration value. You feed the GPS pulse per second through a capacitor, and on the output you'll get two pulses, one for the leading edge and one for the trailing edge, and you make a measurement between those two pulses to get the calibration factor. I have had much more luck with getting the software VT time to actually find the centroid pulse method, and it was working really well and I had it running for a couple of days, and when I started messing with it tonight, it went back to being unreliable. So this is getting pretty frustrating, but I'll just keep on cracking at it. And if worse comes to worse, I'll just put the old sound card back in because I knew that worked. Other than that, oh, I also looked at some GPS splitters and some GPS active splitters. I don't know if anybody has any recommendations for GPS active splitter, one that will power the antenna and provide outputs. A lot of them just use one antenna feed to actually power the antenna and DC blocks on the other ports. But I found that they are extremely, extremely expensive, especially if you go beyond 4 ports. Then they tend to get really, really pricey. So if anybody has any recommendations, drop them in the chat so I can take a look. I appreciate it. That's all I have. Back to the net.
Yeah, if I might interject a couple of things while we're thinking of it. The RC pulse, you're going to find temperature drift with that. Doing a centroid timing on that's probably not the best idea. Secondly, what I use for active GPS system, it comes from satellite amplifiers and splitters. They can cover that frequency band. And while they have F connectors, you can adapt them easily. If you're not looking for something that's laboratory grade, just will do the job. It works quite well.
Okay. Yeah, the temperature drift, I think that's the reason for my problems. I was looking, which temperature coefficient caps do you recommend? Because I was gonna use C0G, but do you?
Well, C0G is what you want, but the resistor is also going to have some temperature coefficient. Plus, the slopey edge is going to be hard for the software to pick up. So it's going to be susceptible to noise.
Well, in the documentation, it mentions to use an opto-isolator in that case.
What you might find more reliable is if you put it through a squaring circuit of some sort. Though you're already, it's already a sharp edge. I don't know why the edge wouldn't get picked up.
Well, the buffer sizes has quite a bit to do with it. You could set a buffer size in the sound card capture program, and usually what happens is if the buffer is too big, the pulse will walk outside of the window and VT time will actually miss it. And I think that's what's actually going on now. I had to change the buffer size to actually get it. Well,
we could probably talk about it another time, but
well,
okay.
Can we go ahead and finish the list?
Yep.
Okay. So next on the list is John in 8OBJ. Now you can get your great questions answered. John?
Yeah, there we go. It's been a crazy kind of busy week. I'm in the midst of schematic capture for Grape 2. It's going to be phase 2 of 3 phases for the radio. Hoping to cross paths with Scotty. I had a few questions for him concerning some of the interface options, but it's becoming obvious that getting parts is going to be a serious problem. Because I know the synthesizer chip I was planning on using is not available, period. So I was to talk to Scotty about that, but I do have a couple of the U-Blocks NEO 8MT GPS modules to to, what I'm trying to do is get a interface to my programmer, Bob Benedict, such that he has access from a firmware standpoint to exercise all of the interfaces. He won't have a full radio, but he'll be able to program frequencies and talk to the magnetometer and get the A to D channels all in. And so that's where I'm at. I also uploaded to Nathaniel's Google Drive the update program to change if you started collecting data as node 0, and then I assigned you a node that is up there and working. The only caveat is I never finished fixing the case where if the file you're bringing in is corrupted, as in the system crashed and you have null characters in it. I know what's wrong with it. I've been meaning to fix it for the last 2 weeks, and I've been so buried that I just posted it up there. If somebody has a problem, I'll fix it. I don't think anybody's really going to run into that issue, but in any event, it's up there for people to use, and instructions on how to use it is up there as well. Back to net.
Okay. Next on the list is Jules, K2KGJ. Go ahead, Jules.
There we go. All right. A lot of projects this week, nothing specific to report in terms of results. So back to net.
Okay, well, fine. And next on the list is Michael, AAK. Go ahead.
Thank you. Greetings to everyone listening. Back to you, Dave.
So next on the list is Scotty, WA2DFI. His ears must have been burning. He was not here till just a minute ago.
I snuck in.
People were asking about talking to Scotty.
I thought I could sneak in, but I guess I didn't go unnoticed. No, actually, we had an emergency. Nona left her Kindle at the restaurant from yesterday. And believe it or not, we went there, then they weren't answering their phone. Believe it or not, we show up and they had it behind the counter.
Wow.
So it's truly amazing.
Honest people.
Honest people, yeah. Restores your faith in humanity somewhat. After the incident where I left my wallet on the table at the restaurant with $200 in it, and it went away.
Ouch.
Anyway, not much happened this week. I did get magnetometers shipped out. So actually, Nathaniel's is right here. Well, you can't see it, but it's
invisible.
That's what you call vaporware.
That's definitely vaporware.
Right.
Yeah, I don't believe that
There
one.
it is. It's sort of there. Anyway, Nathaniel's is here. It's going out tomorrow. It should have gone out today, but we panicked to go out and try to rescue the Kindle, so we didn't get it shipped today. The other two to you and to Dave. I sent them to Dave Whitten, so both of them were in the box to him. He should get them probably tomorrow.
Is that going to the university address?
It's got, yes.
Great.
Department of Physics and E.
Wonderful.
Is that the right address?
Yes.
Okay. So you get that in a couple days, and I've been playing around a little bit with trying to figure out how to write up officially some instructions. I've been looking over Hillman's instructions and trying to figure out how to do this. I was really hoping, and Dave, you might be able to help me on this. I was looking for those bulkhead connectors, the female to female RJ45s. They're threaded. Now, no spec anywhere that I can find says what kind of thread it is. Is it NPT? Is it metric? Is it English? Is it machine thread? What is it? Nobody says.
It's not an NPT. I got a thread gauge. I can measure it for you.
Okay. Yeah. So when we get to the free for all, I'd like to try and do that, because I think we might be able to find an adapter and just thread it in, and you'd have something that you could do with no drilling. So other than that, I think the one hole drilling is going to be the way to go, and use a bulkhead connector. Now, by the way, on eBay, I found tons of bulkhead connectors down to even like $6. So maybe find a cheaper solution. Maybe maybe not. I mean, I go for the higher quality over cheap any day. But so anyway, that's it. Back to you, Dave.
Some of the bulkhead connectors don't make a good shield connection all the way through.
Yeah, yeah. And you need that, so.
Yep.
Okay, well, next on the list is Tom N5EG. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, good evening, Dave, and everybody in the group. It's been a pretty productive week. I've been writing C code for the FPGA, and I've got it successfully listening for open HPSDR discovery requests, answering back and talking to the right thing. And started doing some architectural work so I can implement a subset of the LHDE protocol on it good enough to do testing with. And so been doing a little bit thinking about the architecture of it, and got most of the TCP stuff ripped out of the code to try and get the code size down. So at any rate, it's starting to come up and work a little bit. Back to the group.
Well, very good. That's great news after the past few weeks. Jim, did you get your computer problems working?
I think so. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you fine. Go ahead and give your report.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. I brought up a new Shack computer over the weekend, and this is my first Zoom call with it. And I had a little configuration problem on the audio, had to fix. Anyway, I spent a little bit of time this afternoon trying to improve the reliability of my grape setup. I discovered that the 9.999 megahertz LO signal was leaking out and maybe getting some places that it shouldn't get. Got that improved a little bit, but still not to my liking. I had added one thing that is not in the normal recipe. I had split it using a cable TV splitter so that I could get a second output to look on a look at it on the spectrum analyzer when I had a failure. Finally decided that the problem had nothing to do with the frequency of the LO, so I can take that out now without hurting anything. Still occasionally getting a hang up in the software. It seems to have improved since I've had it on the UPS, but still occasionally getting a fault that I'm not receiving anything and it seems to be frozen. Restart the Raspberry Pi and it works. Otherwise, nothing much to report. Back to Net.
Well, fine business. And I believe I've given everybody a chance to say something. If you haven't, please let me know right now. Well, then we're open for general discussion.
Guess one comment to Jim, that is the fingerprint I typically see when the SD card is failing. It'll start locking up and doing weird things.
Oh, really? I will get a new SD card and we'll see what that does. Thanks for the information.
I was using the ones that I was using, I was having a lot of failures on were the SanDisk, and they were the red and gray colored ones.
I'll have to check this is the one that was on the original recommendation on the parts list.
Okay, because I went to, it was a green and white, and I think it was a Toshiba. I'd have to look. I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, the originals, there were some that would, after about 2 months, they would flake out on me. And they'd do exactly that. They'd lock up, they'd do weird things, the system would crash, you reboot it, run for a while, and stop again.
That is good to know. It was a green and white card. You said that was good.
I'll get you some information on that. Yeah.
Okay, if you would, I'd appreciate it. I will get another card and substitute it if that turns out to be it. I appreciate the information. That's the first time I had gotten any such information, so I appreciate it a whole lot.
Yeah, I've been burned by that more than once.
Thanks for the information. And the other one, you remember which one it was that was on your original recommendation?
I'd have to go back and look. Quite honestly, I don't remember.
I don't remember either right now.
I'll do some digging now while everybody else is talking, see if I can find it.
Okay, thanks.
There's nobody else talking. I have a question for Scotty.
You.
Let me do a screen share here.
Sorry, I didn't have any of those parts, but
No, it's not a problem. Not a problem at all. Okay, so this should be showing the Eagle window. Are you seeing that?
yeah.
Okay. You have A0 and A1 on the 9808 permanently tied off on the schematic, and then you're just playing with A2 to either get.
Right, and you're looking at the Rev D schematic, aren't you? Because the latest one, I believe, is up online.
Okay, I probably have not looked at that yet.
Yeah, that because I tie them off to jumpers now, so you can use multiple
Okay, because
addresses.
I was just gonna, I have this construct with 3 pads, and you can either jump them to 0 or 1 for any of them. So
yeah,
just wanted to make sure that the default was normally 18 hex for the onboard and 19 hex for the offboard.
Just a second, I will confirm that because it's on the schematic.
Yeah, if it is, then don't sweat it, because you're just twiddling A0.
Right, I normally just modify A0 and on the Raspberry Pi, I unground one of the ground inputs and I tie the A0 pin to that. So that I put a pull up on it. So when it's unplugged, it's high. When it's plugged in, it's low. So it's 18 locally and 19 remote.
Okay. The other
and
question
you can make it 18 and 19 or 1A or 1B or 1C, any of the other by adjusting the other addresses. Right.
Because I'll have some other things on the I2C bus. Also on this guy here, you have this with a capacitor and a diode pull-up. Is there any reason to just completely enable it, or do I want to have the ability to disable it?
Well, we have the ability to enable it with a 0 ohm resistor that we don't install. So it's that feature is not enabled, but could be enabled. So
this is going right to the Raspberry Pi pin, so I can do it in software.
Right, but what we do is we put a 0 ohm resistor in series with that and don't install it.
Oh, okay.
So that feature's there, but you have to be aware of it and deliberately enable it for it to be there. Okay, it's not normally there because I don't know what that pin on the Raspberry Pi is doing, and I didn't want to have that hooked up and have it not be enabled.
Yeah, unfortunately, what it does is change between I2C and what's the other fast bus?
SPI?
It does not actually disable it. It just changes to the SPI bus.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And somebody else inquired about it. You don't want to mess with that. You can't really disable it.
So I think, Jules, you were the one that figured out that we needed to put the diode in there because I think it turns out that you have to start out with it low and raise it high at some interval after the power comes on.
Yeah, I think actually Dave went and found that first and we confirmed it. Right. Yep.
Yeah. And that's what
the diode's going to turn it on pretty quick. I would think you'd want a resistor.
No, well, there's a capacitor there too.
Yeah, it's but the diode's going to take a glug of current to really charge that cap.
Well, but it should be an RC to give you some.
Okay, maybe I'm looking at the old schematic because there was just the diode and the cap there. There wasn't any resistor.
Okay, hold on. Let me find the.
I'm pretty sure the current one has resistor and cap.
And a more general question is, are you going to be running the Tangerine with both the receivers that you're running and the Raspberry Pi version?
No. Why would we do that?
Well, that's just it. That's sort of why I'm questioning why we're assigning IO pins and, having, you can't touch this, can't touch that, because if you're using one or the other, but not both, they're never going to conflict.
Well, no, the idea is that I wanted to be able to operate on the data engine, or I want to be able to operate on the Raspberry Pi. Because suppose you want to use a magnetometer, but you don't have a single board computer. You have an i9 desktop or something in place of the host. You don't have any place to plug it on. So you ought to be able to plug it onto the data engine and still operate it. That was the theory. So
I was trying to wrap my head around that this afternoon. I wasn't getting anywhere.
Yeah, too many configurations.
Yeah.
let's see. So hold on a second. We get to the Rev E schematic.
Because right now, this is the way my Raspberry Pi is configured. And the SPI bus is separate from the I2C bus. So if this changes to a SPI channel, it's not.
No, we don't want to do that.
I don't know if these can be, if that it would be a second SPI channel or not. I don't know if the Pi can do that or not.
Yeah, okay. So the way I've got it now is let's see, where is your PCA part there?
This guy?
The serial converter, yeah. Okay, so what I have is a capacitor to ground and a diode pull up, but I got the cathode hooked to 3.3 volts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that enable pin has an internal pull up on it.
That's correct.
Inside the part.
Right.
So
All you really need is the capacitor. The diode prevents a reverse volt, or rather over voltage.
That's right. Well, also when you turn the power off, it immediately drops enable to ground.
Right.
So that you get and discharges the cap, so that you get, even at short power outages, you get a reset.
Well, Scotty, the other thing, I don't know if it's still there, but in the instructions, you had a jumper J2. You originally intended, I think, to ground the enable pin, but that jumper is not in the schematic, but it's still in the, or at least the last time I looked at it, it's still in the instructions.
That was an error that somebody found in the page 2.
Right.
It's really should be removed because it's not there anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what happens when I try to get the schematic out fast for the CAD guy, and I don't pay attention to all the comments that are on there that are really irrelevant from the CAD point of view, but people won't read them. So, so I used 100 nanofarad to ground because the internal pull-up is relatively large, so you don't really need a big cap like that. And
okay, so yeah, the diode. Well, the diode, if the cathode is tied to, it's across the 3.3, so that's for power down. You're removing the energy before.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, and then
when power comes up, the diode basically is reverse biased, and the enable pin pull up charges the cap.
Okay, now I understand. I didn't realize there was an internal pull up on that. Okay, got it. So I don't really need to drive this pin then.
Nope, just put a diode there.
Got it. Okay.
And
thank you.
If it was really an enable, then you'd want to drive it with the Raspberry Pi pin.
Yeah.
And right now we have that connected on the production board. It's connected to the Pi pin with a DNI 0 ohm resistor, but that resistor is never going to be populated.
Right.
So it's basically just the diode and the resistor.
Also, do we want to have the ability to reset this guy?
Reset
this pin right here.
You've got the U blocks on here, right?
Oh, come on. This thing is going to.
So the short answer is yes. And you probably don't want to connect it to the system reset.
Yeah, right now I've got it tied into one of the I/O pins on the Pi.
Right, we have it actually. Since we don't have a GPS on the magnetometer, it's on the clock module.
Right.
We bring the reset for the GPS out separately on a separate pin.
Okay.
So it can be connected up to wherever you want.
So this would be on the 40-pin header.
Be on the and I mean I don't think we use that pin 18, right? That's not on one of the.
That's one of my pins, I believe.
I can tell you whether I use it. I got the schematic up here. Pin 18 is a no connect for us.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to adhere to what we originally agreed on. Although
so
I think are you using GPIO 25?
That's pin 22.
Pin 22.
Second.
I don't have that spreadsheet in front of me. I can look that up.
I've got the schematic in front of me. So 22 I don't use.
Okay.
In fact, on the on the right-hand side of the connector on the even pins,
Uh-huh.
I use only pin, other than power and ground, I use only pin 28.
Oh, okay.
And that goes to my prom. So
Using 27 and 28 to talk to the identification.
correct.
Do we need to have one on this board?
I would, but
okay.
I mean, it's identifies you as a Raspberry Pi hat.
Okay.
And it tells I don't know if you've looked at the file header. I mean, the file, the data that goes in the prom actually enumerates the direction and the type of IO pin every one of the IOs is programmed to.
Oh.
So it's pretty cool, actually. And
that is cool. I didn't know that. Okay.
So if you have the prom and you programmed it properly, software can kind of figure out how to talk to the board. May not know what's on it, but at least it won't program two outputs together. And let's see, on the odd side, I use pin 29 as my remote enable, which again goes to the non-existent resistor, so it's not used.
Okay.
And I use 3 and 5 for the SPI. And other than power and ground, that's it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yep.
I gotta have a field day then.
It's got 2 I2C ports on it and that one remote enable pin that's not used. So really nothing.
Okay.
Now on that's on the Magneto Pi board, right? On the hat. On the data engine, all the pins that you use, I drive those. I mean, they're connected up to bidirectional pins on the FPGA, so I should be able to take your hat and plug it into the data engine and operate it.
Okay.
If we ever wanted to do that, I don't know why we would, but it's easy to make it that way. So because I don't have enough IO pins to talk to all of the Raspberry Pi IOs, so all I did is I picked the ones that you talk to.
Got it.
And then so that makes them sort of compatible.
Is there a part number that's preferred for the ID prom?
Yes. It's a, hold on, I'll give you the part number. I'll paste it.
How do you spell that?
That's,
yeah.
I think that's,
we might be able to get those.
I think that's Porky Pig, isn't it? No.
Yeah, it's Mel Blanc.
That's all, folks. Okay. Here it comes, if I can figure out how to operate my computer. Chat. That's the part number and is made by On.
Oh, On Semi, okay.
There's a whole bunch of different manufacturers that are the same. So that's the part number that I used.
In the chat room, okay.
And it's it's like a 2K. I want to say it's a 2K byte part.
Okay.
It's really small. There's not really a lot in it, a lot of room.
Like a serial 2816.
Yeah, smaller than that.
Yeah, showing my age there.
Yeah. I remember when 2708 cost $100.
Yeah, there used to be 3 supplies. You'd have the -5 to bias the substrate.
The 3 standard supplies.
Yeah, those were buggers. I actually used the 1702, which is a 256x8.
Oh,
and that required a -9 volt supply in addition to the +5 and the other one.
Hey, when I was rummaging around in our digital systems lab at ASU, when I was a grad student, I found some NMOS arrays. These were arrays of transistors that were 8 by 8.
Oh my.
256 bits. And by the way, you had to build the sense amps and you had to build the drivers and they were in like 40 pin packages.
Wow.
Talk about a part you would not care about at all today.
Yeah. Thank you for your help, Scotty.
Sure. Any other questions, just email me. And did you find the latest schematic up online? The one that has the error on page 3 or page 2 that says there's a jumper 2 that there isn't?
No, I have not, but
I want to make sure it's up there because it's important to use the latest one.
Okay, that's on the Tapper website?
No, it's on the Tangerine website.
Oh. Okay, I'll see if I can find it.
I think it's under working documents. Would that be right, Dave?
That should be correct.
And it's Rev XE4. I mean, I can explain to you how our revs work. Is that we start out with anything that's experimental begins with X, and then the E is the revision, and then the number 4 is a number that goes from 1 to N, depending on how many revisions you have of it before you actually get to a laid out board. So when I hand off the board to the CAD guy and he adds the PCB shapes, the number bumps. When he sends it back to me and I change a capacitor, the number bumps. Anytime there's a change and it leaves the place that you made the change, you increase the number. So like, for instance, I believe the data engine is at like XA27. So there were a lot of changes back and forth, but the A is the revision. And then what happens is when you get to production and you're done making changes and it's all laid out and you go build it, then you drop the number and the X and it becomes Rev E or Rev A or whatever it is. So this will become Rev E. So at some point, an XEN number will be equivalent to Rev E when you're all done making changes. And then when you go to make another change, it'll become Rev XF1, next Rev, and then you'll make your changes, it'll evolve, and eventually it will become Rev F when you actually produce some.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a convoluted way, but it keeps you out of trouble because anything that's E, you look for the highest number E, and that is the latest one. So XE4 should be it.
So this is on the AMSI.org.
No, on the Tangerine website.
Oh, Tangerine. Geez, no wonder I can't find it.
Let's see.
Okay, got
If
there.
it's not there, then I'm going to send it to Dave immediately and have him put it up there because it needs to go up.
I see Magna Hat schematic XD1 PDF.
Okay, so that will be Rev D.
And I don't.
What link is it under?
An E. Working documents.
So no E, Dave?
I don't see one.
Okay. It will be coming to you because it's pretty much solidified now since we built boards. So
which one am I looking for? The magnetometer hat?
Yeah, but the one that he wants you to use is not there yet.
Yeah, it's an XD1.
Magneto Pi hat is what I call it. So it's Magneto Pi hat schematic, and it's XD1 is up there. But
yeah, that's the one I was using.
Okay, that's one Rev old. This next one that I'm going to send to Dave is going to be the production release Rev E. So that's the one that we built that I just sent the boards out to Jules and to Dave and Nathaniel tomorrow. Those
So
are
is it worthwhile grounding then the PCA 9615 enable pin if we don't want to use it?
I don't think you want to do that. I think
Yeah,
you
it
want to
sounds
put
like
it
I don't want to. Okay.
You want to have that power on reset that comes up late.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to ground it. Grounded will put you in SPI mode.
Yeah, that's not good. Okay, thank you for that. I will not even touch it.
Thank Dave for that. He's the one that found that.
Thank you, Dave.
I think it was Tom.
You saved the board, Rev.
Or Tom, maybe Tom. I don't know who found it, but we all dump our help in, and it gets incorporated when it's determined to be true, and that was so.
Now bookmarked, so I got that. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions I had. That makes life easier. And somewhere in here.
Okay. Dave, I should send this to your Gmail address. Is that good?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Alrighty then. Oh, Thunderbird's changed the way they do attachments now, have they?
Yes, they have.
It looks totally different. And I'm going like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, it called me a couple of times too. Yeah.
I was getting used to the old one, so they changed it.
Yeah. But you get too used to it, you gotta fix it up for you.
Right.
What did they change?
It changed the way when you drag an attachment over and drop it on it. It used to come up in the title bar in the top where the to and the from and the subject was. Now it's down at the bottom.
It's down bottom left now.
Oh, great. Glad you told me. I never would have found it.
All right, there you go, Dave.
Well, I'm watching.
Okay.
Only 250K, so.
I'm gonna get some of these puppies.
And I still have to revisit the page 2 on this that has the erroneous reference to jumper 2, but we'll
I'll keep it interesting.
see if anyone's paying attention. Too bad someone already has paid attention, more than one person. That's good though. It means people are looking.
There it is.
Page reload.
So can you put that up in real time, Dave?
I believe so.
The magic of the internet. So you're going to move the XD1 to the old versions?
Yes.
Okay.
But first thing have to remember, haven't worked.
Hey, did you do me a favor, David? Change that name instead of Rev E to change it to XE4.
Oh, yes.
That way I can fix the other things on it and it will be noticeable that it will be different from XE4.
Okay.
I should have
Just
thought
give
of
me
that.
I need a minute to think about it. You guys can talk about something else and I should get it fixed.
We can't talk about anything else until this is done.
Wow, tough crowd.
Yeah. Okay, I'll talk about something totally non sequitur. I just bought a new cycle computer, a new wrist, what do you call it, health monitor? Because I need a gadget to motivate me to get out on my bike and ride. So see, that's the way you motivate yourself is you buy a new toy, right? So we'll see. I ended up with the Garmin the Garmin one, that's it. out of 25 different ones. Anyway, it's a big 40 millimeter diameter watch. We'll see if I can tolerate it or not, because I'm not a watch person. I don't like wearing stuff on my wrist, and my wrists are kind of small anyway. So we'll see if I can tolerate this big slug of thing on my wrist. But it's basically I have a cycle computer that mounts on the handlebars, a little guy like this.
Yep.
But it does
Like
everything. Yeah, no, that's a Garmin also.
Oh, okay.
But it replaced my big Garmin. This is a Riot too. You see the size of this screen?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a big Garmin that is this big, has the exact same size screen on it, except the unit's half as big. But it's exact. I mean, it's the same size, same pixels, say everything is the same, except now there's a bezel only a 1/4 inch around instead of having a huge big bezel all the way around.
Oh, wow.
And the battery lasts longer. The brightness, I think, is a little dimmer, so it's not quite as good in that respect. But the wrist-mounted one now will actually do everything that one will, without even hooking it on your bike. It has a built-in GPS.
Jeez.
Has 8 gig of MP3 player memory, so you can, if you got Bluetooth headphones, you can play music or podcasts or whatever while you're cycling. And I found some headphones, some earbuds, and I don't like cycling with earbuds in, because I don't like not being able to hear what's going on around me, because half the warnings you get for cars or other bikes or things, they make noise. Well, these have a transparent mode that you can tap, and it has a microphone on the outside, and it allows you to hear what's going on all around you. So they say you could even, order your coffee with the earbuds still in, because you can talk to people. Well, that's what I want, because I want to be able to hear what's going on when the semi comes up behind me. I don't want to be surprised that it's there. I want to be able to hear.
Noise cancellation.
Yeah, and if they're good, they have no good noise cancellation, and then you get surprised by stuff. And you don't want to be surprised. And in fact, this is interesting. I haven't actually researched this yet, but they claim there is a rear-facing radar unit you can mount on your bike that will interface with the wristband and warn you if something's coming up quickly behind you that you can't see. And I have yet to, that just sounds like, house payment expensive kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked to see what it is, and I ride mostly on the bike path, so there's not a lot of vehicles that come up behind me, but there's a lot of bicycles, and and they usually have a little, bell, so you get a warning, but you don't get a lot of loud warnings. So that's kind of what I'll let you know next week how it works, but it seems like it's pretty interesting. And it has a whole bunch of sleep features and wake features, I'm a little skeptical, because it's like, well, they analyze the workouts that you did in the last week, and they tell you whether you should work out heavily today or you should take a light rest day.
I drive a hybrid, and I worry when I come up behind a bicyclist that they can't hear me. So I frequently give them a little toot of the horn. I've had some give me a really dirty look or worse, but I would rather do that than the risk one of them not hearing me.
Yeah.
I know in Ohio, it's illegal to drive with headphones on, either in the car or on a bike. You can get a ticket for it, and a friend has gotten a ticket for it.
For how about for one ear covered?
That I don't know, but he was listening to NPR, and he had, just the small headset on, and he got ticketed. You're not allowed to do that.
Well, these are in-ear earbuds, so you're probably not going to really be able to tell that I've
Probably
got them
not.
on unless you come up. If you stop me, you'll be able to tell.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I wonder if that's in a vehicle, though, right? That's in a car.
It's in a car. It's actually any vehicle on the public roadways. If you're on a bike path, you can do it.
But how about if you're on a bike lane on a public roadway? Would they?
I think it's illegal.
Wow.
Well, it
For
kind of
obvious
makes
safety
sense.
reasons.
Say what,
John,
Joe?
John got a question for you.
Yes.
I'm on the github.com HAMSci. Where do I find that program that you put on here?
It's the same place where Nathaniel put the original distro of the grape image.
Okay, I'll have to go look around for
Hey,
that.
let me see if I find it. I'll post it in the chat window.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I can certainly post it to the chat window. It should be available directly from the website too.
I'm just not very
This
comfortable
one
poking
here
around
I've got
the,
might be the one that's special because I can write to it, so I probably shouldn't post that. Yeah, I'll let you post that, Nathaniel, because the one I've got has got write privileges.
Okay.
But the PSWS PF or print file.txt is the explanation of how to use the Python program, and it tells you where to put it and how to check the alias and how to set up the program to do the processing. And it warns you that each day there is typically 2,000 seconds that are missing, which is pretty consistent. So it's missing a sample about once every 90 seconds during the day. An interesting stat.
when I was looking at mine, I found anywhere I looked, I could very quickly find a missing
Yeah,
segment.
it's not too hard.
It's I put the link in the chat. The link is on the website. It's underneath on hamsci.org/grape1. It was under the parts list. Where the custom OS image with all software installed compressed.
And I've got the 2 images labeled as .old because I'm working on the new one. But the PSWS files are what you want for your conversion stuff.
By the way, it says in Arizona, it is only illegal to drive with headphones on if you're driving a school bus or transporting children.
Oh.
Otherwise, you can have both ears covered. Well, you can, it doesn't say both ears, it just says you can drive with headphones.
Okay.
Well, Scotty, it should be there. Take a look.
Okay, let's see.
He's not the only one looking.
I see Revy and XD1 still there. It's
Well,
called, it's called-
XD1, I'm moving right now.
Ah, I see Revy.
Can you change the name to XE4?
Okay, just give me a minute. I'm gonna move the XD1 file.
I just don't want people to get a Rev E copy because it's not going to be Rev E.
Okay. I just put up what you sent me.
I know. I should have sent you XE4, but I was too stupid to do that.
It's Monday. You're allowed.
I finally got my root canal calmed down. So
Ooh, that sounds nasty.
well, now I got to go in tomorrow and have the crown replaced over it because the crown was leaking from underneath. So it's not seated properly. So we're just having loads of fun on that tooth.
You know how to have fun, Scotty.
Well, the dentist wanted to pull it out and put an implant in, and I told him no. I told him
Actually, I have an implant, and it was so easy. I would do it.
Well, I've talked to a couple people out here that have had implants done, and they just have a heck of a time with it. It took them upside of a year to get the implant in because the bone had to grow around the socket that they put in.
Yeah, because the bone on mine was thin, so he put in, it was bone marrow from a cow.
Excuse
and
me.
in 2 months, it had completely regrown. He drilled it and put the implant in, and it was done.
Excuse me. Is it okay the way it is now?
XE4, XE4.
4. Okay.
Sorry.
I was thinking about bone marrow.
Yeah, my endodontist said that they would take cadaver bone and put it in there, and I go like, oh, I think I'd rather have a cow bone than a cadaver bone.
If I start moving it, my wife pokes me.
It could have been a cow cadaver. You never know.
Yeah. When you wake up and your arms are like this, then you know that it wasn't
You
a
got crosses on your eyes.
That's right.
Okay, I think
It's still XE1 over here.
Oh shoot! What did I do? Oh,
trying to make it as hard for you as possible, Dave.
Yes. Now let's try. There, XE4.
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 Perfect.
So that's what you want, John.
I'm downloading it now.
So then it'll be XE5 when I fix all the mistakes on sheet 2. And then that'll be the equivalent to Rev E.
You don't make mistakes.
Oh, yeah. All mine are on purpose.
Well,
I just have features that no one likes.
I need to be
And older
knowing.
versions, I don't see. Yeah, there it is. XD1.
I see X. Yeah.
Even
I
though
moved it into older versions.
Even though it has 2 underscores before XD1, I don't.
Yeah,
care.
you had 2 underscores in the original.
Yeah, I did.
And I
Like
didn't know
said-
if you wanted 2 in this one, but I only
Nope.
put 1.
No, it would 2 is a stutter.
Okay. I need to go. My wife wants to see me before.
Or midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably
So-
a good thing.
73, and
Okay.
I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Good night, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm
Thanks,
heading
Dave.
up, so Nathaniel, I'll talk to you in a few hours.
Thank you. Yes, I'm going to say 73 as well, everybody.
73.
73.
Thanks.
Oh,